storm, but I warn that there is a storm. I'm not your favorite, but pretty soon know you will conform. So I would never leave the mic alone, calling up opportunity like the mic is my phone. My heart's cold and her love for me is so warm. She hasn't said it, but her stare was so long. She gonna feel me though, it's real that she's here.
Well, okay, I forgot the categories now, but there was one supposed to be really good in studio, and I'm sorry, what were the other ones?
Studio, chops, and feel.
Studio, chops, and feel. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I kind of feel like for me, it all rolls into one because I gravitate towards albums. I wouldn't say I'm much of a. I like live performance based stuff. I do, but to me, it's more entertainment. I'm not necessarily watching for the precision aspect of things because nights will change, vibes will change, feels will change. Studio, like recordings, album stuff is kind of where like I get geeked out on because that's like, that's where the sausage is made, right? It's in the room. You're in the moment. You're trying to capture this essence in time. So this particular, this particular section, the way it's printed was so good that they committed it to, quote unquote tape or digital. And they said, here's what you get. So I enjoy that aspect. So coming from that, so from a studio perspective, let's say in terms of just like feel and vibe, big Stewart Copeland fan. Stewart Copeland.
Okay.
Love
awesome.
Stewart Copeland. I've always been a fan of the Police. I got really into the Police in college. But what always was amazing to me about the Police, and then I'll circle to Stewart, was the fact that it's just three guys. And if you were to separate all of their parts, right, with the exception of Stewart, who always had, I'd say, the most interesting of everything going on for the most part, they were three solid musical parts by themselves. But when you put them together, along with what was going on just melodically, which was never anything crazy, but it was just, it sounded amazing. Like these were like big, full sounding songs, full of syncopation, full of just this rhythmic groove from like three dudes from London who were all solid players, but it's like their parts weren't anything that if you learned how to play a bunch that you couldn't do. Again, Stewart Copeland aside. Now to his drums, though, because Stewart Copeland, I felt like always brought together this aspect of there was an energy to it, there was a creativeness to his playing that was bouncing off of everything going on. So I guess that was my first interaction because I come from that rock world, we live in Long Island, or at least did. So everything was very centered around 70s, 80s rock. And beyond a couple of drummers in that era, much stuff was just
baby.
like... Exactly. BAB all the way, Zeppelin 24/7. And I do love Zeppelin. It just took me a while to get over the overload of Zeppelin sickness. But like Bonham, amazing drummer.
Okay, wait.
For what?
We gotta come back to that at some point. That's going to be a fun part of the conversation. Okay.
This will wind up somewhere.
So pause the Zeppelin. Go back to the Police, but we're coming back to the Zeppelin. That's a great little...
So going back to Stewart then, I got out of the 80s rock shock, but hearing him and how he was able to play off of everything, he's adding so much syncopation. He's going in between time, time signatures in terms of a 4/4 or then a half time, like creating these feels that were like... just like you're on this ride. Like I thought I was listening to 8th notes, but now I'm listening to 16th notes. And I have this kind of like, it was a driving feel, but now I'm on my back and everything's upbeat. And, I just like, his parts were always so cool. So his pocket was always so good,
Yeah. You got a great connection of like punk and reggae in his performance. I mean, in the whole band, but like you really hear that. Like his just like what he did with the hi-hat and the cross stick to me always stood out.
Right. And he got creative with the reverb and the delay on the hi-hat.
Okay, talk about a little bit. Yeah.
Well, it's just like you had all of those doubles, right? You had they mic'd himself up in a way and then they delayed him in such a way where he would be getting like these like slapback cross
like walking on the moon kind of thing, right?
Right, exactly. But it wound up being a theme in a lot of their stuff. So he was able to utilize some of that engineering prowess to kind of make that part of his sound and give him a different vibe there too. So, and his giant...
You see that with... Oh yes. And you see that like there's a cool growth to the band, right? But because like when they really like the beginning of when they started out, it was kind of more punky, like, you know, with a little bit of that like flavor that you know them to be now. But and I think the production kind of got better, right? Like as they started to be more creative as songwriters and players. I mean, Andy Summers is like unbelievable, like
amazing player.
you know,
Totally.
and of course Sting. We're not leaving out Sting.
We like you, Gordon.
But like as the band, as like the their sound, their songwriting evolved, and they're pulling from different influences. Like that's where I think you see that production that you're talking about, the creativity with that, and it's so cool to talk about that in regards to Stewart's playing and his sound on the records. Like it's so true. It's so true. That delay in the hi-hat and the cross stick in particular is really exciting and inspiring. And it's interesting as a drummer to try and properly cover some of those songs live with a band, because I really feel like people don't do justice enough to like really trying to learn those parts.
Won't you let your fear go, watch the money grow. I accidentally flow while I'm saying what I know. They call it rapping, but to me I'm straight into my soul. Even the mirror couldn't show the potential you hold. Don't fold, they tryna see my game crease.